I ran around, started to run around the rear of the police car, and I looked back and he was gaining on me, and he was about 3 to 4 feet behind me.
And at the same time, he was growling like a wild animal. A wild animal.
Again, still screaming, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you, and making this kind of claw look with his hands, and intermittently growling. I ran around the rear of the police car, and that's when I decided that this man needed to be stopped. I couldn't let him go. I was scared.
And he ran between us, and I had concerns that if he's charging at Deputy Willard, that he might get at Deputy Willard's shotgun. And I also saw that Deputy Willard had another item in his hand, and I was concerned that that was a weapon that he could get at and use on either Deputy Willard or me.
I tossed the taser on the trunk of the police car.
I can't get my taser in my holster, so I just tossed away the taser. I tossed it up on the windshield of my car.
And I transitioned to my handgun.
And I got my firearm out. And at this point, the subject jumped up onto the hood of my car, did a running leap onto the hood of my car, and at this point, Deputy Willard was at the rear of my patrol vehicle.
As I turned back around, I saw him leap. I don't know if he touched a foot on the trunk or on the front, but it appeared that he went right from the ground to the top of the police car.
Growling like an animal, like a wild animal. And then he jumped up onto the hood, or the roof of my car, still charging towards Deputy Willard, screaming, "I'm going to kill you," and growling like an animal.
And he was up on the very top of the Sandy police car, towards the rear window, jumping up and down on the car and growling and screaming, "I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you."
And at that point, while he was still kind of in the running position on top of the roof of my car,
I came up on him. I remember taking a look across my front sights right at him and yelling for him. I remember clearly yelling two things. One, "I'm the police and you need to get down." And I don't remember if I said police or sheriff, but I identified myself and I said, "You need to get down. You need to get down. Get down. Get down." And yelling at him. And I'm sure this is all just a matter of a few seconds, but it seemed like a long time. And at one point, he appeared to be lunging forward towards us as I also at that point, I was aware that the Sandy police officer had come around to that side of the car too and was right next to me.
I was located towards the rear of my vehicle.
And I wasn't consciously aware of what he was doing, but I was on him, and I think I yelled, "Shoot!" I might not have. I might have just been thinking it. But in any case, when it appeared he was going to leap off of the car at me,
like an animal, like a wild animal.
I fired.
I fired several shots at him. I fired.
And I know that I fired 2 very quick succession rounds. He's not doing anything.
Just sitting there.
He stepped back on the car and stopped jumping, and then it appeared that he was going to come towards us, but down towards the trunk. I don't see any weapons.
There was no gun.
I fired one more round.
Until he was down.
And at almost simultaneously with firing that last round, his right foot slipped on the rear window of the car, and he fell on his back right against the lower right rear window, and then hit the car and slid off of the car head first. I remember hearing his head hit the ground, and then he fell down on the ground.
Suspect is down.
Suspect is down.
And they should have been giving help to this man, and they murdered him.
What was the subject's reaction when he was shot?
I guess shocked would be the best way to describe his reaction.
Indeed.
We're all shocked, and we're even more shocked that the system has allowed them to get away with it.
Police were justified in the shooting death of an unarmed man last month outside of Sandy.
They chose to use tasers. They chose to use their weapons. They arrived at the scene certainly with the intent to use those weapons, as they arrived with their guns unholstered, with a shotgun that was loaded and ready to shoot, according to the deputies involved. So clearly their intent was to get there and use force if necessary from the very beginning, rather than considering other alternatives and rather than evaluating the behavior as a potential case of, maybe this man is suffering from the injuries that he suffered because of the accidents in which he found himself that day.
Why did they do this?
Here, in their own words, is the real reason that police murdered Fouad Kaady.
While you were looking at your sights at him with the gun pointed at him, what were you thinking? What were you thinking?
I was thinking, I don't want this man touching me. I don't want him getting on me.
Fouad was 27 years old. He was my brother. Excuse me. It's really hard to be without him. He's a big part of my life.
Miller 12539. 1175, someone down.
Shots fired, yes.
They killed him because they were cowards and because he was bloody.
What were you thinking? What were you thinking? And you had mentioned that you had concerns about this man making contact with you. What were those concerns and risks?
In my training as a police officer, I've had a number of classes that involve education regarding bloodborne pathogens and the hazards of those. My concerns were probably first and foremost hepatitis. This man was behaving as if he was on some sort of drugs. I know through my training that hepatitis is fairly common among IV drug users, and for a number of reasons. And so my first and foremost concern was hepatitis, and then secondly the potential for the AIDS virus being also transmitted through blood. And with the volume of blood that he had on him, even with standard precautions, gloves and a mask, it would have been very possible to get blood in my eyes or my mouth, and I actually even had a little open wound on the tip of one of my fingers at the time that I was concerned about.
Okay.
That's why he shot Fouad Kaady to death, because he was bloody.
What were you thinking? What were you thinking?
And my actual thought was, it's weird, it was all in slow motion, but my actual thought was, I can't let this man get me. I can't let him touch me. He has to be stopped, but I can't let him touch me because of the blood. Because of the blood, because of the blood. Because of the blood, covered with blood. The blood thing was really bothering me.
Why didn't they call for the paramedic?
I had I just knew that he was either had a very bad mental health problem or was definitely under the influence of drugs or a combination of both.
The sheriff's office is releasing its incident reports. You can see how extensive this investigation was. According to witnesses, there was something wrong with Kaady that morning. He acted erratically and wore only a sport coat and pants.
When the police kill someone, the system is vested in justifying it. And so they and their apologists in the corporate media set about looking for dirt on the victim, trying to convince us that he or she was someone we should not care about. They grasp at any straw.
Wore only a sport coat and pants, only a sport coat and pants, sport coat and pants. Witnesses say he looked like he was high.
Apparently they hoped to uncover some past skeleton that might shame him into obscurity. But in this case they found nothing they could use. No drug abuse, no criminal background, no family problems, nothing. He was clean.